You will have 2 hours to complete the exam. When you have finished, close the booklet, turn it face downwards, and raise your hands. You may begin. Mr. Jankowski.
I'm afraid there's been a car accident.
Is there any other family to call?
No.
You're in a sort of a rare position of a lot of the film work you've done lately, you've been playing the same character even as he's been evolving. Like, how eager were you to take on somebody new, or was there a little anxiety about, like, oh, I'm so used to playing one thing? Like,
yeah, I mean, there always is. There's always kind of it seems like there's a kind of transitional period, like after you've done, like, you know, especially I'm worried about doing stuff after this, because I've been, you know, being in the Twilight world for 8 months. It's so specific. Everything about the movie is so specific. But I mean, I always want to. I want to do different things as much as I can, just so I don't have a slew of Twilight movies coming out and there's nothing else coming out. But this was a real, like, it's just such a relief. I mean, just having so much natural light, and there's dirt and grime, and like I don't have any makeup on, and it's just, you have your normal eyes. Like, it's like literally the total opposite of everything to do with Twilight. I mean, it's yeah, it was a kind of. It was a relief in a lot of ways. It'd be too easy to call this character just a villain, and one of the things I think you do well is to fill these characters up with other sides. Was it nice to explore that sort of romantic side of him and the charming side of him?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not. I don't separate these qualities from each other. You know, I'm try to very much make the point that it's one human being. That it's not, you know, like you switch something off and something else on, just like we all are. You know, everything exists at the same time. When you work with somebody like Christophe for the first time and Rob, you've worked with, like, briefly before, correct? Mm-hmm. Is it fun for you, like, at this stage of your career, to keep finding these new fresh faces to kind of go and play and do these scenes with? Like, how does your head work?
Totally. Every experience working on a new movie with a new actor that you've never worked with before is so exciting, because everybody's different and brings something, a different style, or a different way they memorize things, or a different way that they like to rehearse. And it's great to learn a lot. I learned a lot from Christophe, and, you know, Rob is at the precipice of this huge career, and it's exciting to work with somebody so enthusiastic about being in a movie. And yeah, it's very educational. Was going into show business sort of your own version of running away and joining the circus?
I mean, when I first started acting, I just loved the fact that you work for 3 months and then you just abandon ship and go somewhere else. I mean, it does allow you to have very few responsibilities. I mean, so I guess in some ways I like that. I do not envy any of my friends who just went straight into normal jobs and have to, you know, do 9 to 5s. It's but yeah, I never really had I don't think I'd be able to live my whole life with the same group of people. I mean, so in a lot of ways, my theatre doesn't really appeal to me. It kind of drives me crazy being around the same people, like, all the time. But with film, there is something special about it.
In that fine line between an actor giving a performance and being a human being, how difficult was it for you to get angry with the elephant? Do those scenes when you know that it is going to have an effect on the animal? Well,
it's all an agreement that we make before we set out to do it. And the animals, as strange as it sounds, are included in this agreement. That we're going to do this and that in order for the story to be told. And of course, you could tell the elephant or the tiger until, you know, the last day. But it's a trainer who needs to know. The trainer is the important person to talk to. And these animal trainers are rare human beings. You know, they understand more about a creature's behavior than any academic psychologist. You know, and that includes humans, by the way, because that's the point of departure, so to say. So the trainers knew long before we started to shoot what was required of the animal, and they trained the animal to understand or to do the act basically. The animal doesn't have to understand, and the animal couldn't care less anyway. But to kind of do what was required in order to get the bits and pieces that, in the edit, turn out to tell the story.
The costumes were really cool, like, because those were so distinct to that era, and then you had those sort of Jean Harlow style gowns, you know, when you were more dressed up. Was that something that you found easy to adapt to as far as style and feeling comfortable in that stuff, or was it part of the character, the costume that you were putting on?
It was definitely part of the character, and the costume designer Jacqueline West worked really hard to make sure that all the costumes were authentic, and sort of, you know, we paid a lot of homage to Jean Harlow, and Greta Garbo and Mata Hari is, you know, inspired the costumes on the elephants, and it was just really exciting to be working with such incredible artists. From the set designers to the costume designers, everybody was a real artisan.
You bring a fan base to the movies that you do. What do you think that the Twilight fan base is going to embrace about this particular movie?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think it was just such a kind of, when I was working on it, it just felt like it was so different to everything else, and there was a real, you feel like you've been transported somewhere. And hopefully that's captured in the movie, and then people will feel like that. I mean, there's definitely a lot of the sort of romantic aspect of the Twilight movies and stuff. But yeah, I think it's like an old-fashioned movie, and I think, you know, I think the Twilight fans' taste in a lot of ways skew towards that. So yeah, maybe they'll like it.
You break my law, you have to pay a penalty.
But it's gotta be now.